The draft board in Cincinnati just got hit by a lightning bolt that nobody saw coming, and the fallout is starting to leak from inside the building right now. We are talking about a top-tier defensive target who was supposed to be the foundational piece of this secondary for the next decade. Instead, a medical bombshell has emerged that could force the front office to scrap months of scouting reports entirely. The stakes for pick number 10 have never been higher, and the risk of a catastrophic mistake is looming over the draft room as we speak. Dermot McCoy is currently the name on everyone's lips, but for all the wrong reasons, as several teams have officially raised red flags regarding his medical evaluations from the combine. This is not just a typical recovery situation from a torn ACL. We are hearing reports of a potentially degenerative knee condition that has front offices across the league panicking. McCoy missed the entire 2025 season after that devastating injury in January, and the hope was that he would return with a clean bill of health. But here is the problem that Tony Pauline is now reporting through his deep sources. Multiple teams have flagged his knee as a long-term medical liability. This is serious because medical opinions are currently split, and that creates a massive range of outcomes for where he might land. Some teams are looking at these medical reports and deciding to take him off their draft boards completely. Imagine the pressure on our front office if a player of this caliber is sitting there at 10, but his career could be cut short by a condition that never heals. Other teams might just penalize him a round or two on their board, but for a team like the Bengals who need immediate impact, this changes everything. Now it gets serious when you realize McCoy has been a frequent projection for Cincinnati in almost every major mock draft over the last month. The smoke is getting thick, and the concern is real. If the medical staff in Cincinnati isn't 100% convinced of his longevity, they simply cannot afford to gamble a top 10 pick on a player with a degenerative label. It's a terrifying prospect for a team that has historically been cautious with high-end medical risks. This news creates a massive void in the draft strategy because McCoy was seen as a perfect fit for our defensive scheme. The uncertainty is growing by the hour as scouts scramble to reevaluate the cornerback class before the clock starts ticking next week. You have to wonder if the Bengals were one of the teams that raised that red flag, or if they are among the few who still believe in his recovery. But the most shocking part isn't just about McCoy's knee. It is about how this specific injury report is about to trigger a massive domino effect that reaches far beyond just one player in this class. If you are really following this team, then you know how critical this draft pick is for our window of contention. Real fans already know that we cannot afford a bust in the top 10. Do you think the risk on a talent like this is worth a first-round gamble, or should we run the other way immediately? We are pushing hard to hit our goal of 500 subscribers before draft night to bring you more exclusive inside looks. Please hit that subscribe button and like the video to stay locked into every Bengals move this offseason. Mansour Delane is now the player who finds himself squarely in the spotlight as the primary alternative if McCoy's medical status continues to deteriorate. But what if I told you this isn't even the biggest problem the Bengals are facing right now with their secondary rebuild? Delane is currently ranked as the #1 cornerback on many consensus boards, and the gap between him and the rest of the field is widening as these medical concerns spread. If the Bengals are forced to pivot, the competition for Delane's services is going to be fierce and expensive in terms of draft capital. We are seeing a situation where the Bengals might have to decide between a safe pick with a slightly lower ceiling or a medical gamble that could change the franchise for better or worse. Mansour Delane offers the stability that Dermot McCoy no longer guarantees, but his availability at 10 is far from a sure thing. The pressure is mounting on the scouting department to find a plan B that doesn't feel like a consolation prize. When you look at the board, the names behind Delane don't carry that same blue-chip energy, which puts the front office in a corner. The draft is essentially a game of risk management, and right now the risk profile for the cornerback position is through the roof. We are hearing that internal discussions are heating up regarding whether the team should even look at a defender at all if the top 2 corners are off the board or red flagged. The ripple effect of the McCoy news means that other teams ahead of Cincinnati might also pivot toward Delane, potentially leaving the Bengals with 0 of their top choices when they are on the clock. It creates an atmosphere of desperation that can lead to reaching for players who don't deserve that top 10 status. The scouts are looking at every inch of Delane's film to ensure he is the real deal because the safety net of having McCoy as an option is rapidly disappearing. Every draft cycle has a moment where the board flips, and this medical report on McCoy is the catalyst for 2026. If the Bengals stay at 10, they are praying that the medical reports on McCoy are overblown, or that Delane somehow slides past the elite teams picking in the top 5. The tension inside the facility is palpable as they weigh these options. Caleb Downs represents the third path in this complex draft maze, and he might actually be the smartest play the Bengals can make given the current chaos. While the focus has been heavily on the cornerback room, Downs is a versatile chess piece who could solidify the entire back end of the defense without the same medical baggage. The decision facing the front office is essentially a choice between taking a high-risk gamble on McCoy's talent, competing for the consensus top corner in Delane, or opting for the elite safety prospect in Downs, who brings a different kind of value. If you look at historical trends, the Bengals have struggled when they ignore medical red flags in the first round, and the fan base still remembers those stingy investments that didn't pay off. Caleb Downs is currently being slotted to Cincinnati in more mock drafts than anyone else, and for good reason. He provides a floor of high-level production that simply isn't guaranteed with McCoy anymore. The impact of choosing Downs over a corner would mean the team has to find defensive back, help later in the draft, or through a veteran trade. This creates a real conflict because the need for a lockdown corner is still the primary objective for this defense to stop the elite receivers in the AFC North. If they pass on a corner at 10 to take Downs, they are essentially betting that they can find a starter-level corner in the second round. That is a dangerous game to play when your championship window is wide open. The future of this defense hinges on this specific decision, and the clock is ticking down to draft weekend. Strategically, taking Downs would be the safe move that secures a playmaker, but it leaves a massive hole that McCoy was supposed to fill. We are seeing a massive shift in the projected draft value of these defensive backs, and the Bengals are right in the middle of the storm. The front office has to decide if they trust their own medical staff more than the league consensus that is currently tanking McCoy's stock. It is a high-stakes poker game where the cards are being shuffled in real time. Every scenario leads to a different version of the Bengals secondary in 2026, and none of them feel completely certain yet. The urgency to get this right is maximum. Jermad McCoy remains the ultimate wildcard in this entire saga, and his story is a reminder of how quickly dreams can change in the NFL. For the fans in Cincinnati, this news is a gut punch, because we all wanted to see a healthy, dominant playmaker join this roster. There is an emotional weight to this because you want to see these young men succeed, but as an insider, I have to tell you that the NFL is a cold business. The Bengals' identity has always been about finding value and staying disciplined, but sometimes discipline means making the hard choice to walk away from a player you love. Whether the team decides to take the risk on McCoy or pivots to a safer option like Delane or Downs, the soul of this defense is being shaped right now. We have to believe in the process, even when the reports coming out are this concerning. It is about more than just a draft grade. It is about the long-term health of the franchise and the culture we are building in that locker room. Real Bengals fans know that we have been through these draft cycles before, and it is the moves we make under pressure that define us. As we sit just 1 week away from the festivities, the board is more of a mystery than ever. The front office is working overtime to ensure that whoever they call at number 10 is ready to contribute to a Super Bowl run. This situation is evolving every single hour, and we will be here to break down every single update that comes out of the facility. I want to hear from you directly in the comments because your voice matters to the community. Does a degenerative knee report completely remove a player from your board, or are you still willing to take the shot at 10? This is the kind of debate that makes draft season the best time of the year for football fans. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss our live draft coverage where we will see exactly how this McCoy situation plays out. The drama is just getting started, and you won't want to miss a second of it. WHO Dey? And let's hope for some clarity soon.